Shout out to Caressa McKnight for sending me the story coming out of Connecticut, where you have this individual by the name of Henry Revelorio de Paz, who was 27 years old, who did what any woman would consider to be frightening, or any person for that matter. So this woman got into a car that she thought was her Uber. Turns out that this guy right here, this Henry character, was posing as the Uber driver, and he wasn't even the Uber driver. He ended up kidnapping this woman, and then he ended up sexually assaulting her. Let me go ahead and read the story. It says Henry Revelorio de Paz, age 27, has been charged with sexually assaulting a woman who got into his car after mistaking him for an Uber driver. He faces second-degree sexual assault and kidnapping charges in Connecticut. The alleged victim says she left the bar and got into his car thinking it was her Uber. The suspect took her to a location where he allegedly sexually assaulted her. It says Henry de Paz was extradited from Kansas and faces counts of second-degree sexual assault and kidnapping. Wait a minute. So he went all the way to Kansas from Connecticut, if I'm reading this correctly. Because that's what extradition means. It means you're taken out of one place and taken back to another, usually to a place where you're from. Let me continue. A criminal affidavit claimed the suspect had a modus operandi of impersonating an Uber driver and preying on young, intoxicated women in the downtown area of Stamford, Connecticut. The alleged victim, age 19, told Greenwich police that on December 16th that she requested a ride home from the Hudson Social Bar and got into Revelorio de Paz's vehicle thinking it was her driver. The suspect took her to a location where he allegedly sexually assaulted her. He also allegedly touched her genitals and ripped her underwear. She went to the Greenwich hospital later in the morning and the incident was reported to police. Investigators from Greenwich police obtained security camera video of the victim entering the suspect's vehicle. After sharing information from the investigation with other law enforcement agencies, a suspect was developed from similar incidents. The vehicle was later identified and its owner, Revelorio de Paz, was identified as a suspect. Physical evidence from the scene was forensically linked to him and a DNA match was made. A Stamford judge granted an arrest warrant for Revelorio de Paz. Greenwich investigators working with the Kansas Highway Patrol developed information that Revelorio de Paz was staying with a relative of his wife in Kansas City. Greenwich police subsequently went to a county detention center in Kansas City to pick up the suspect to face charges in Connecticut. He was arraigned in Stamford Superior Court early Wednesday afternoon. Stamford police previously arrested Revelorio de Paz in a separate sex attack in 2016. Revelorio de Paz's DNA was found to be an inconclusive match after evidence was obtained from a woman who reported the rape to police. Usually when stuff like this happens, the person usually always has a history of doing stuff like this. So this guy was pretty much impersonating an Uber driver to get women into his car just so he could kidnap them and forcibly rape them. Luckily, none of them ended up dead because that could have been the case scenario right there. And see, he worked this out in his mind perfectly. Set up an app to make it appear that I'm like an Uber driver, get people to request me for a ride, go and get them when they're intoxicated, not when they're sober, because when they're sober, then they have all their bearings together. Then once they're in the car, take them to an undisclosed location to the point where they don't know where they are, only I know where they are, and then proceed with the violent act. That is a very sick thing to do. I'm glad they caught this guy, but it's crazy how they caught him all the way in Kansas City. That's a far cry from Stamford, Connecticut. Like, he must have really been pushing hard, to get away from there. But I'm glad they caught him, and hopefully they throw everything at him because that's exactly what he deserves. That's one of many reasons why some people don't trust things like Uber and Lyft, because of things like this. You never know whose car you're actually getting into. That's like trusting these dating sites. You never know which person you're talking to, because online anybody could be whatever they say they are. And then when you meet them in person, they're completely different. Just like that show Catfish. But y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.